Hey everybody, my name is Marty Zoffinger. Thank you for clicking on the video. Today I'm going to be talking about this Recon 120 HD. This is the first kayak not made by Pelican that I've reviewed in a long time. First, I suppose I'll talk about its greatest attribute in my opinion. And that of course is the primary power of this kayak, propelled by your feet just like a bicycle, and it can move the kayak forwards and backwards. Reverse, baby. Reverser.
You're gonna need a bigger boat, right? That's a 20-footer.
That kayak's only 12. 3 tons of it. Alright, that's pretty cool. Yes, this big foot-powered kayak is driven by a propeller, which is why it can go forward and backwards. It's called a Helix, and from the factory it comes with these little traction bolts, which are good if you have slippery galoshes on, I suppose. I like to go out barefoot a lot, so I took the bolts out. The pedals probably would have been just fine like that, but instead I sanded them down, and then I made myself a template. I transferred the shape of that template to some anti-slip traction tape, and then I applied that tape to the pedals. Now this drive system was perfect for my bare feet. So this is a very big kayak, and the seat's a lot wider than I'm usually used to. So the straps were kind of digging into my arms a little bit. I quickly alleviated that by just putting a little bit of pool noodle, which is secured with tape, on the sides of the straps. This seat is now one of the most comfortable seats I've ever been in on a kayak. It's really high. There's a ton of space underneath for storing all kinds of things. A little tray behind the seat where you can put a large tackle box. Back here you can see I've added some stuff. This gear track was installed simply by putting a bunch of screws in place. You guys know how I like to put holes in kayaks, yeah? And now I have a rod holder right behind the seat. Next to that I added a ram mount. That's an 1.5-inch ball mount that I use for my camera. You can see I've got a stick here, and that gives me an angle over the shoulder for when I'm out and about and I'm filming. Yes, storage. My goodness, not only is there storage under the seat and in this enormous tank well, which will gladly accommodate a full-size milk crate. This area is so big that it actually makes a full-size milk crate look small. And if you're the type that likes something a little bit more fancy, Wilderness has a perfect crate for you, which also comes with 4 rod holders. You have this hatch up front in which there's a compartmentalized removable bin. I mean, this thing is really big. I like it because I keep my camera gear and stuff in here that I don't really want to get wet, but I have yet to fill it. There's just a lot of space. And if you take that out, you can see all the way inside this massive boat. There's plenty of room to put rods and maybe camping equipment if you were going to be out all day and all night. You see I've drilled a little tiny hole there and added a rope so that I can retrieve stuff. This is a monopod that I use for filming when I'm out. I've been able to get to that from the seat without much trouble, and I have another one here for whatever else I might want to put inside the compartment. This reminds me of another giant boat that I had once with a similar setup up front. Lots of space for storing stuff. If you're going to be out there all day, that's pretty neat. This boat comes with factory tracks that you can put like rod holders in, and this round area up here, I had planned for that. I decided to put another 1.5-inch ball there, and this was one of the easiest installs I've ever done to a kayak, and it made a great place up front for me to add some more equipment. I've seen this kayak before with a big old fish finder attached to the factory rails. I think that ball mount up front would have been a better place for a fish finder. It would be more out of the way if you had a paddle. And it makes a great place for a secondary rear-facing camera mount. Look at that awesome shot there of me fishing. Oh yeah, fishing. Let's show myself catching a few little dinky fish. So I took my camera mounts, and on one of my first trips I was able to get on a few snook. Not giants by any means, but nice fish. It was a little windy, and the kayak wanted to go in the trees. Here I had both hands full, and it was able to thwart the wind's efforts thanks to the pedal drive. Shortly after, I made another cast and hooked another fish. This one wanted to take me into the trees. But like Arnold said, this fish had no chance. Nope, I just went backwards right away, pulled this fish away from the structure. I am kind of liking being able to reverse away from the trees. Sacrifice, I guess, for not being able to lift the drive out of the water by just putting your feet forward. In the past, I've been used to a fin-style drive which stows out of the way every single time you put 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. But the Helix Drive stowed pretty easy too. I mean, here you can see it stowing up inside the boat behind those brush-like baffles that are on the bottom here. And now the fish is not going to get hung up. That's cool. The drive really wasn't in the way when it was in the up position. And for a long time, I'd had this suspicion that propellers wanted to chew up your fishing line like a vacuum cleaner. Not the case if it's not in the water, and it was really easy to redeploy. Again, I got my hands free to deal with this nonsense. That is a little bit more difficult when you have to paddle and get a wind knot out. Nice place for the rod to sit. I could get away with a longer rod, but I like my 6'6" rods. And one thing I'll say about this boat, the propeller is so thin. I guess that lends itself to the fact that you can be moving. I don't know, you see the trees? I'm definitely moving. And I stopped paddling. So I'm still moving. But the pedals are not moving. I've been on pedal craft before where if you stop your feet moving, the boat stops abruptly. This doesn't do that. That's kind of neat. One advantage of a kayak over a boat that I have found in my experience is that you can explore every square inch of water. And having a foot-powered kayak really enables you to do it a lot easier. Nice, you can just pedal fish, pedal fish, pedal fish. Fishing, that is, not necessarily catching. I worked every little pocket along this tree line for quite some distance. But this time there was nobody home. And then you control when you get tired. After a whole bunch of hours of pedaling this thing around, I fished my way back to the location of the old kayak rental business where I put in. But before I could make it back to the dock, somebody beat me to it. You hit him? Todd's got his little boat here by the dock now. It didn't come over the wake. It didn't come over the front. Big enough.
It looks like it's pretty smooth though.
Yeah. And then there's...
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it. That's a neat thing to where you can back up and you can really work an area.
Yep, I got a couple snippets just now.
Did you?
Yep, I was able to pull them out of the trees.
Out of the trees?
My only concern is if they go onto the boat and they get stuck in the propeller. So it's a balance like anything in life, you know. Hey guys, don't forget, if you like this, make sure you give it a like.
Shut up, Marty.
Yeah, that drive is pretty neat. And to control it, you have a tiller handle here. You can mount this tiller handle on either side. That turns the rudder in the back, which you deploy by pulling these little handles. And the rudder is really deep in the water, which moves this big heavy boat surprisingly well. Yep, the Recon 120 HD is a barge, but it certainly doesn't turn like one. So kudos to the hull designers. And although this boat with all my gear in it weighs more than I do, I was still able to manage it after a long day on the water, get it up on a trolley, and towed it up this fairly steep embankment back to the truck. So despite my ribbing, this boat is actually kind of manageable, even without a trailer. But again, if it was my only vessel, I'd probably have a trailer to haul this thing down the highway. And I mean a kayak trailer, not an 18-wheeler.
Piece of cake.
The hull is nicely shaped. You see it's got a removable skeg protector right there, which is nice. When you're dragging it, inevitably you won't be dragging a hole into the bottom of your expensive kayak, which this big girl is definitely going to set you back a couple dollars. But to have the instant reverse and a foot drive nowadays, compared to other similar sized boats, it's really not that bad. So all in all, this boat is growing on me, even though I have yet to grow into it. I'm a little guy and this is a big boat. If you're a big guy, this is going to be right up your alley because it's going to handle your weight. If you're somebody who wants to add stuff like a trolling motor, and I've seen guys with very expensive fancy trolling motors on these things, it handles the weight just great.
What's up, people? Welcome back to Marty TV. In today's episode, we're going over fishing. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you could. Thanks.
Smash it, man, smash it.
That is great.
I gotta work on that.
Yeah.
Well, since this day in Denellen, Florida, when I was introduced to the Recon 120 and I was acting like a model in front of a bunch of camera people, I've had the boat out a whole bunch of times because my goal was to really give it an honest review. The only question I have for myself now is, going forward, what kind of wacky way am I going to outfit this thing? Well guys, thank you for giving me your time and allowing me to share this boat with you. If you have an opinion on what you like best, big, small, fancy, or simple kayaks, please let me know in the comments below, because I've had lots of different boats and I still can't make up my mind. What do I want? Do I want big or small, or do I want a high seat or just a simple seat? I don't know. I do rely on your feedback quite often for what I'm going to do going forward in the future with myself and my channel. So again, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on the subject. In the meantime, thanks for coming along as always, and I'll see you next time.